Okay. I have a blanket as per usual. I also have a block with me. So if you happen to have a block in your space within fairly accessible reach, then just having that with you. Otherwise, we can substitute in other ways. And we'll just take a moment to settle into our seats. So maybe just allowing for some free movement, placing your blanket or some other kind of support underneath your hips. And perhaps if when you come to seated, you're cross-legged, maybe try changing the way that you cross your legs. So you're probably going against the grain of what you feel comfortable with. We're just breaking down those ingrained patterns a little bit, opening ourselves up to that little bit of curiosity as we dip our toes into practice this morning. So let's just eventually settle into some kind of still space. It might be that there's a little bit of lingering movement. Like this morning, I feel like my body just needs to keep swaying ever so slightly from side to side. So you might feel at home in a place of stillness right now, or maybe you have a sense of needing just a little bit of micro movement as you're settling in, as I do. With the invitation to allow the breath to get a little bit longer, a little bit deeper. And every time you exhale, let there be an element of softening that enters into your experience. So it might be that it begins at the crown of the head and slowly starts to trickle down through the face, the shoulders. Maybe there's just areas of your body you're really aware of that seem to be holding tension. So you place that willingness to soften into those areas. And what is it that you need from your practice today? And letting that inquiry filter through the various layers of self, from the physical to the emotional, the mental, and the energetic. And then we remind ourselves of that open permission to do or not do any part of practice. And today's reading actually circles around that principle. So I kind of smiled this morning when I stumbled across it in my readings. So really keeping yourself open to that choice that's always available to do or not do. So this morning's reading comes from the author, the poet, Victoria Erickson. And I believe it's from her book, Rhythms and Roads. She wrote, "It all comes back to energy. And we use far too much energy thinking and deciding. Sometimes it's really as simple as do or do not. And taking freeing, liberating action in one of those two directions." I'll read that again, perhaps letting yourself take it in on a different level. It all comes back to energy. And we use far too much energy thinking and deciding. Sometimes it's really as simple as do or do not. And taking freeing, liberating action in one of those two directions. So, really trusting yourself to follow that inner compass of the do or not do directive today. And then, as you're ready to do so, just allowing your eyes to flicker open or your gaze to lift. And just take a moment to sweep your attention through space. The light is very different this morning with the weather system moving through. So you might be picking up on that as I am, noticing how it kind of colors your world. And doing that little safety check behind you. And really just reaffirming the space that you're in. And then when you're ready, inviting some movement in. Maybe it's Sufi circles. Maybe it's a little bit of slide and glide, or maybe a seated cat-cow. So just moving in accordance to what it is that your body is craving right now. And if you're doing something that moves in one direction, like a Sufi circle, take a moment to pause and then bring it around the other way. And if you were doing some other kind of movement, could you maybe change it up a little bit, maybe deepen the movement or find somewhere to concentrate your attention? And then when you're ready, just letting the body come back to a place of stillness. Drop the chin in towards the chest. Hands are resting in your lap. And with every exhale, as though someone were lightly putting a bit of pressure on the back of your head, can you get this sense of the head dropping deeper in towards the chest and a little more release trickling through the spine? And then softening that little interaction between the really deep drop of the head and just coming back to a normal sense of the head hanging with gravity. And we'll roll the right ear over towards the right shoulder. Letting the head get heavier and heavier. And there's the option to take that left hand, either tuck it under the sit bone or wrap it into your low back. Thinking of releasing through that left shoulder, letting it drop away from the ear. And if you happen to have the hand tucked in some way, and even if you don't, we're going to lean forward just a teeny tiny bit. If the arm is pinned behind you or underneath you, you're going to feel this a little more readily in that left shoulder. Just breathe, be mindful. Again, that option to do or not do, and find the freedom in that choice. When we gradually come out of that little forward fold, invite the chin back to the chest, the hand falls into the lap. Breathe into these lingering sensations. Same thing the other way around. We invite the left ear over towards the left shoulder and just start there. Nice deep breaths. And if you had done that little wraparound or tucking under the body with the free hand, then doing so now, taking that right hand to its chosen spot. Just keep thinking with the exhale, the shoulder softens, the arm gets heavy. And exploring that little bit of a forward movement, if it feels okay. And just walking those fine lines between just curious, edgy sensation and perhaps maybe tiptoeing over that line. We want to stay behind it where we can observe, but we're not distracted. And then we'll let that go, gradually come back to center, chin to chest, the hand freeze if it was bound anywhere. You might choose to offer a few releasing breaths to yourself here. Maybe it's just paying attention to the breath as the body recalibrates. When you're ready, letting the head lift, feel it perch back on top of your shoulders. We'll purposely shrug the ears tight up, or shrug the shoulders tight up towards the ears. Feel that deep squeezing and contracting. And then we keep the shoulders high, draw the elbows back, squeezing those shoulder blades. Slowly drop down. Feel the shoulder blades start to spread apart. And then come back to that neutral where you began. Feel that out. And then we'll do that in reverse. So draw the elbows back, squeeze the shoulder blades low. Slide them up high. And then draw forward so the shoulders are tight up towards the ears. And then we soften, let that go. Let's bring ourselves through to tabletop. Excuse me. So patting up knees if they're tender. Making sure there's no wrinkles or anything if you're putting a support underneath your knees. And do you want to be open palm today in your all fours, or do you perhaps need to be on a fist or fingertips? So finding that fit straight away. Dropping the tailbone, feeling the low belly start to engage and draw inwards. We're just going to breathe here, a little bit of length. And we'll do a few rounds of cow and cat here. Inhaling, letting the belly gradually begin to drop down and into the space below you. And let the crown of the head and the tip of the tailbone just kind of float along. Exhale, slowly drawing belly button in towards the spine, rounding everything out. How would you like to approach cow and cat this morning? Super slow, maybe a little bit more pace. I'm taking more of the slow motion approach this morning. Just making sure that your breath anchors itself to the movement so they're functioning together. We'll do one more cow cat. And gradually release back to tabletop, either coming to high kneeling or sitting back on your heels. Let's just give the wrists a bit of a break. We're going to roll the shoulders, stay nice and close to the shoulder socket. A few times one way, a few times the other way. And then we'll let that relax. We'll take the arms out to the side, draw them up overhead. Left hand is going to grab hold of the right wrist. So we're going to do a little pull upwards and then over. So we want to draw the arm up and out of the socket first and then create the space. And you could even lean over to the left a little bit if you wanted to. You decide how much or little tension you put into this. And then we'll let that go. Release the arms down to the side, just let them dangle. And then we'll come to do that the other way around. So we sweep the arms up. Nice big breath in, that right hand looking for the left wrist. And then slowly, mindfully draw straight up out of the socket with that left arm and then bring it over. So again, you determine just how much tugging is happening here. I've actually got a pretty good hold on my wrist and I'm adding a lot of traction to that arm and shoulder. And then we're going to let that go and slowly release down. Let's do a few little shoulder rolls again. And then we're going to work on connecting to the core and moving slowly. So we come back to that tabletop position. And we'll start by just mobilizing each body part individually. So the arms, then the legs, and then we'll work on a little bit of the sunbird balance. So making sure you feel stable here, we start with a little bit of engagement through the core. So stabilizing the core, the spine. Left arm with an inhale, let it reach up to whatever range is agreeable to your shoulders today. Exhale, lower it down. Right arm, float it up and let it go. Left leg, stretch it out behind. Maybe you just tuck the toes and tap them to the floor for this first one. And then release. Do the same thing to the right side. Extend the leg, tuck the toes. Let's just stretch into the calf and the hamstrings with this little bit of the toe curl and pressure. And let it go. We'll do that cycle once more through each appendage. Left arm floats up. Spine is stable. Left arm lowers down. Keep the core engaged. Inhale, float the right arm. Exhale, release it. Coming over to the left leg, this time we inhale, take the leg out behind us, float it above the ground to whatever degree you can lift today. Foot is flexed, like you're trying to kick the wall behind you. And then release that knee down. Same thing on the right side. So we stretch the leg out and up, flex into the foot, toes pointing towards the ground, leg is active, core engaged, and we release. Give the hands a little bit of a break here if you need to roll out through the wrists and wiggle the fingers. And then we'll come to try and work with opposites here. So we're going to float left arm and right leg and then switch to do the other sides. Engage through the core, stabilize, flat back. Inhale, stretch the right leg, the left arm, squeeze in your extension, and then exhale, lower back down. Switch, inhale, reach up, extend, and let it go. And if you're finding this is disagreeable to your body today, or you're really wobbly, maybe try coming a bit wider in the hands, the knees, or maybe you just go back to doing 1 and 1, so arm, arm, leg, leg. Let's do this 4 more times. So if you're doing individuals, it would be 2 more rounds with single arms and legs lifting, 4 repetitions with doing the doubles, looking for the balance. So when you're ready, inhale, reach, right leg, left arm. Exhale, lower. Left leg, right arm. And lower. That's 1. Extend and release. Keep that core in check. And whenever you're done, let yourself take on a child's pose. And just integrate there, give the wrists and hands a little bit of love, wiggle and move them around. And we'll slowly lift back to our tabletop. And we'll do a little child's pose flow here. So starting in our tabletop, with an inhale, let yourself reach up and overhead. A little bit of an upward salute. Squeeze into those glutes, stabilize the core. And then we're going to exhale, do a little swan dive. Slip your way down and into a child's pose. And then we'll inhale and come back to that tabletop pause. Your next inhalation, reach up. Exhale to bow to the ground. And then inhale, slide up and through to your tabletop. Let the exhale cycle its way out. We'll do this 3 more times. Inhale, upward salute. Squeeze into those glutes. Exhale, dive down, bow to the earth. Inhale, slowly draw your body through to the tabletop. Exhale, let it go. Come back into the cycle, rise. Surrender and bow to the ground. Through that tabletop, maybe a little bit of a cow pose, and then reset on the exhale. Last time through, reach, bow. Inhale back to your table. And either surrender back to child's pose, or maybe it would feel better to do high kneeling or the low kneeling in Seiza. Maybe give the wrists a little more love and freedom of movement. And just breathe here. So from here, we're going to lower down onto our backs on the mat. And we'll draw the knees in towards the chest. And just do a little bit of side to side rocking here. So I forgot to mention to have your block handy. So hopefully it's within reach-ish. If not, bring it with you if you happen to have it. Otherwise, we'll just substitute with a slightly different action. So we were doing that core integration with the sunbird balance. We're going to do the same thing with what's commonly referred to as dead bug this morning. And it's helpful to have the block as a little reference point. It might be that you have it on its low edge and you push it into your thighs, or vice versa. So we're going to pick up those knees, have them close to the chest, and think about flattening out that curve in the low back. And then with block, if you happen to have it, put it in your hands, push it towards your knees, thighs, and just create this little contraction here. I know my abdominals are quivering right now. And then we'll relax and release. So we're just starting with this creation of tension and engagement. So we'll do that 2 more times. Exhale, lift those knees, flatten out the curve in the back. Bring the block in if you've got it. Otherwise, it's just palms of hands pushing into the thighs. You exhale, squeeze. Knees are driving in, hands are pushing away. And we let that go. And one more time. Setting up, level that curve in the spine. And when you're ready, keep or create the tension. Pushing the hands, knees pushing into the hands. And we'll let that go. Whew. Pause, breathe, feel. So much as we worked with opposites while we were kneeling, we're going to do the same thing while we're on our backs. So either right hand pushing into the left knee thigh, or maybe you've got that block as a little barrier. Knees are up into the chest. We're flattening out that curve in the low back. And as you're ready, explore the possibility of stretching that right leg away and the left arm just as far as you can go without losing the flat part of your back, and then draw them back in. So the movement could be quite subtle. Exhale, extend. Inhale, draw back in. Last one on this side. Right leg, left arm. And release. Take a breather. Let the body relax. Maybe a few deeper releasing breaths to just let things settle. And then we'll set it up the other way around, so the left leg and the right arm will be moving. We begin with knees towards the chest, left hand pushing towards the right thigh, right hand just sits on top. Flatten out the curve in the low back. And as you're ready, stretch the left leg away, right arm. As far as you can go without losing that flat back that you created. Draw them in. 2 more. After that last one, completely release. You might want to pick up your hips, kind of wiggle them around, set them back down. If you happen to be using the block, take it and tuck it underneath your head for a moment with the long edge at the very base of the skull. And if you don't have a block, you could use your fists and tuck them underneath your head and create a similar support. Chin drops in towards the chest. And breathe. And then we'll come to release the support from under the head. Let's come back to that neutral ground. And then bringing the knees, the feet a little bit closer together. Knees could stay bent if that's what feels most supportive for you, or you could do this with the legs long and you're pushing into the heels on the ground. So it's what works for you. I'm going to do the long leg version today. Arms come out to the side. So this is a nice mobility movement for the upper body here, and also still a little bit of core concentration. We'll inhale, sweep the right arm up so it's over the chest. Exhale, the right arm dives across the space and you roll to let the hands join or meet. And then we inhale, slowly uncurl and come back to that open place. We're going to stick with the right side here, do 5 more. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, reach that right hand over to the left side, and maybe that right arm starts to reach further with each pass. You're just moving however you need to move through this little series, keeping the feet or the heels anchored nice and firmly to the ground. Total of 6. When you're done your cycle of 6, let the body relax for a few moments. Take all of the holding out of the equation. Just let yourself rest on your back. And then we'll engage the lower body parts. So either driving the heels and glutes into the mat, or maybe you're pushing the feet and the knees towards one another for your platform. When you're ready, that left arm reaches up through center. Exhale, roll over to the right. Inhale, slowly roll your way back to center. Pause. Do that again. Reach, roll, and release. 4 more, total of 6. And again, just letting yourself find a way to rest and integrate when you're done. If your legs were long, you'll then come to bend into the knees, bring the feet to the ground. Just taking a moment here, we're going to do our gradual or incremental twisting. So we'll cross the right knee over top of the left one. And let's just start with a bit of subtle movement here. Let the legs sway side to side a little bit. Doesn't need to be a big movement. And then we'll come back to center, pick up the hips, scoot them out to the right side and set them down. And then we exhale, let the knees fall left a little bit, pause and hold. And we're just going to breathe here. Sit a little bit longer in each stage for this first round. And then your next exhalation, dropping halfway in. Pause and hold there. Breathe with as much ease as possible. And then we let the legs drop all the way over to the left. Maybe you brace them in for a moment with the left hand. And then exhale, the legs come all the way back to center. Pause. We'll go through this series twice more, just a little tiny bit quicker these last two times. Exhale, drop in a little bit, pause. Drop about partway through your range of motion and pause. And then all the way down and in, pause. Exhale to contract, come back to center, reset a little bit if you need to. Last time through, little movement, pause and hold. A little bit more, pause and hold. As far in as you can go, and let's just brace the legs down with that left hand. 3 or 4 nice deep breaths, encouraging that right side of the body to relax. Now let that go, come all the way up to center. Uncross the legs, bring the hips underneath you so they're level, and just let yourself rest here. Being immersed in the sensations, the differences one side to the other, the similarities. What is it that you're taking in this moment? And we'll then do our twist the other way around, so crossing that left knee over top of the right one. And we start with just a bit of tiny movement here, side to side. And come back to stillness. Pick up the hips, scoot them out to the left, set them down, and we begin that slow dropping in. Let the knees fall over to the right a little bit. Pause, hold, breathe. Exhale, drop about halfway down your perceived range of motion. Pause and hold. And then all the way down and in, and brace with that right hand for a few moments. Letting that go, exhale to squeeze, bring everything back to center. And we go through that again a little tiny bit quicker. Exhale, drop into that first level, pause. Exhale, drop about halfway in, pause. All the way down, a breath or two. Exhale back to the center. Last time through, drop in a little bit. Drop to that halfway point and hold. And all the way down and bracing with that right hand. 3 or 4 nice deep breaths, encouraging the left side to relax now. Exhaling, coming all the way up through center, unwind. Find your neutral ground where you're comfortable to rest for a few moments. And let's draw the knees in towards the chest again and just come back to a bit of rocking. And then you'll come back to center. Squeeze the knees in a little bit tighter towards the chest if possible. And then you'll let that go. We'll stretch the right leg long on the mat. Keep the left knee bent. We'll take a few moments in reclining half butterfly. So we allow that left knee to fall open to the left side. The foot just rests somewhere on the inseam of that right leg. Nice deep breaths. And then we'll come to do a little bit of a swimming frog motion with that left leg. So slowly sliding the leg into extension, bending into the knee, bringing the foot back to the ground. Open into your half butterfly, slide the foot away. Sweep it open, knee to the ceiling. And we'll do that one more time. Drop the knee open to the side, slide the foot away. And bringing the foot back to the ground, knee bent. We'll slide the right foot to the ground as well. We're back in our neutral spine. And then the left leg straightens onto the mat. We invite that right knee to fall open to the side for a reclining half butterfly, and we pause to breathe deeply here. With your next breath, we begin to explore that swimming frog leg. Slide the right foot along the floor, straighten out the leg, and then bend into the knee. Bring it back to its starting point. Drop the knee open, slide the foot away. Bring the knee back up and center. We'll do that again. Pausing at the end of the series with the foot to the floor, bring the left one beside it. And we'll push weight into the heels, exhale, and just hover the hips above the ground ever so slightly. Just a teeny tiny engagement. And then you'll let that go. We'll just do that twice more. Squeeze, lift, hold. Just a teeny tiny lift. We're not looking for the full bridge, unless you really want to do that right here. Releasing and then coming into the last one whenever you're ready. And we let that go. Finding your way towards Shavasana, just letting the next minute or two be some space for free movement. If you're feeling like you need to shift, roll, stretch a little bit further. And eventually you'll come to set up into some form of Shavasana that feels good for your body today. Adding layers, doing whatever you need. And eventually a stillness washes over you as you settle in. And as the efforts of practice begin to settle for you, I hope there were moments where you chose to do or not do, to perhaps adapt in some way to better serve yourself. That's truly the beauty of practice, is making it our own. So you allow yourself to breathe, to feel. And let everything be for a little while. Just one breath into the next. It all comes back to energy. And we use far too much energy thinking and deciding. Sometimes it's really as simple as do or do not, and taking freeing, liberating action in one of those two directions. allowing for the sounds of the bowl to just call you back in to be guided by that inner compass, that inner knowing and wisdom as you go through your own motions to help bring practice to a close, with the invitation to eventually come back to sitting when you're ready. And when you happen to find yourself back in that place where your spine realigns itself between heaven and earth, maybe inviting the hands to join at the heart, maybe it feels better to just lovingly embrace yourself with a gentle touch. Offering gratitude towards ourselves for the courage and the willingness to step on the mat to practice today. And giving thanks to all the precious puzzle pieces of life that fell into place to allow us to connect and share. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.